Welcome back to Vision on TV. We're here in a beautiful field in Kent. Across there is a huge coal-powered power station polluting this planet, and here is a beautiful renewable city all running on solar power. Today we're going to talk about agrofuels. Can you introduce yourself?
Yes, I'm Andrew Boswell. I'm from Biofuel Watch, and we campaign against unsustainable biofuels and agrifuels.
So why is this such a big issue? Surely agrofuels are the solution to all our problems.
Well, no, unfortunately they're certainly not, and they're really an emerging crime against humanity, actually, in several dimensions. The first one is they actually accelerate climate change. Second one is that they're playing a large part in the global food crisis we've seen, happening for several years now, but really built up this year with rising food prices. And they're having huge social impacts in the global south, with people being moved off their land to grow agrifuel plantations.
Okay, so why is this a climate change issue?
Well, the issue with agrifuels is that there's actually a huge amount of emissions generated in producing them, and it's from a number of sources. The really big hit, and this is science which has come out this year, is that when you create an agrifuel plantation, you have to displace land which is used for something else. Now, very often at the moment that's rainforest or peatland. And scientific research this year has shown that that will cause up to a carbon debt of up to 800 years. And that what that actually means is that 800 times as much CO2 is produced and released into the atmosphere than could be recovered from using the agrofuel as a substitute for diesel or whatever. Even on sort of a land like preservation land in the US, if they start putting corn into that sort of land, it's not rainforest, but even that has a 50-year hit. So this actually is just a crime against, climate crime against humanity in itself. It's causing massive greenhouse gas emissions.
Okay, it's obviously such a big issue that we've got a group of activists who've come in and done some direct action about it. Actually, we've got a tape of what you're up to do this.
Well, I've been learning about agrofuels recently, and I've come to realise what an urgent issue it actually is with regards to climate change, and it feels like the response to it is nowhere near adequate, and it seems that most people don't realise what a dangerous situation we're actually in, and so taking direct action like this seems a sort of adequate response in terms of the urgency. Obviously, it's not the only thing that can make a difference, but we need a really wide range of.
So, can you actually explain what's happening on camera?
Over here, we've got this is a storage depot that is owned by Greenergy, and it's where the biggest storage depot for agrofuels in the UK. A lot of this is then used for powering vehicles. We've got 8 people who have chained themselves in a circle, and they're blocking the road so that the trucks carrying the fuel cannot get in and out. In the background, we've got 4 people who have climbed up the silo and released a banner saying Action Against Agrifuels Climate Camp, because we are an affinity group who came together at Climate Camp to take action. The people on the ground, they stayed there for an hour and a half before the police came and dragged them off. The people up the top, maybe 3.5 hours or so. They then went down and were sitting on the staircase around the silo and chained themselves to that staircase. And there's also a lot of support team and legal observers. The reason that we did this, what personally motivated me, is the fact that this is such a huge issue, and a lot of the public still think, oh, well, this is a really good solution to climate change, oil is peaking, but this can be an alternative. But no, it can't. The UN World Food Programme estimate that 100 million more people are going hungry every year as a direct result of agrofuel usage, because where previously they were growing food to eat, they're now growing crops, some of them food crops, some of them not, that are going to be made into fuel to power the cars of the rich.
So, can you explain why direct action is so important?
Because the message isn't getting out there. Currently, the RTFO, the Renewable Transport Fuel Obligation, says that in the UK, if you go and fill up your car with petrol or diesel, 2.5% of what you're putting in your car is actually biofuel or biodiesel. and this is exacerbating the problem massively. And the EU want to increase the targets to 10% and then 20%. And if this happens, we're going to destroy more and more of the world's rainforests. These are the lungs of the world. They are irreplaceable. We're going to exacerbate climate change. Climate change in itself is already causing, because of the climate change, more crop failures, more floods, more and more people going hungry, and it's just exacerbating it. And it seems like this is one of the ways to get attention and to raise awareness, and we want people to be more informed, and that's my personal motivation for doing it, is really to get the message out there.
And
yeah, I think that the action yesterday, it got so much press coverage and so much attention that it actually got far more awareness and spread the awareness of agrofuels and the problems of agrofuels far more widely than a lot of other techniques that take a lot more effort and a lot more time. So yeah.
okay, so let's have a look at what's happening here. So what are these people doing?
So basically, this lady has got her arms inside tubes, and they're locked into the inside of the tube, and the other side of the tube someone else's arms are on, so they're all in a circle like that, and it's very dangerous to move them, so they are actually blocking the road, and for a good hour and a half the trucks could not get in or out with this Agrifuel to take it to the petrol station.
Is this the usual strategy of direct action protesters?
I think it is a strategy that people use often. Something that was quite different about the one yesterday is that normally they're removed by. Is this the appropriate time to say this?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. They're removed by a cutting team, but yesterday the police actually dragged people. Oh, sorry, I can't do this. Can I try again?
That's fine. So what happened?
Okay, maybe I should do it later actually when the footage is there.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay.
Well, okay, there's a long interview there, so maybe we can fast forward.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
Fast forward.
Would it be worth showing that interview as part of it as well?
Okay, yeah.
Which one of you is going to explain?
Explain the whole thing, is it?
Yes.
Okay. Right, there were 8 people who were locked on in arm tubes who formed a circle in front of the entrance. So they were blocking the lorries coming from both sides, entering and leaving the site. We used arm tubes, which means you put your hand inside the tube, and you're locked on by a chain and a carabiner to a bar inside the tube, and so you can't be removed.
It would just be worth saying here there's people locking onto the stairs as well after having hung the banner.
So isn't it not dangerous to go into an industrial plant and lock yourself to things?
It could well be dangerous, but the issue at hand is so urgent that we do need to do drastic things in order to get attention. And some people's arms were hurt, it's true, but the message was got across.
So normally the police aren't this violent. Why were they so violent and irresponsible?
Yeah, exactly. Normally people are cut out of lock-on tubes by a cutting team, but yesterday they had an entirely different tactics. They were actually quite brutal. They said that they were going to remove us from the highway, from the road, and they came along and they
with very little warning.
Very little warning.
And you'll see in a minute on the film as they drag people away. The thing about lock-on tubes is that if you start pulling people, they cannot release their locks, and they could have broken people's arms.
Yeah, the harder they pulled us, the harder it was to release our hands, because you couldn't release the carabiner. So a lot of people were actually in an incredible amount of pain. They were screaming and crying because they were getting pulled from both sides, and it was like they were trying to split us in two because you're getting pulled so hard from both.
But surely the police have a health and safety responsibility to make sure that to uphold the law, and
that's what you'd hope, isn't it? Yeah, exactly. You'd think they'd be there to protect everybody.
And we did warn them. I wasn't locked on myself. I was supporting the people that were locked on. And the medic also on site, he was saying that you're going to break people's arms, this is really dangerous, and they just started dragging people. It was really horrendous. It was really horrendous to watch. And one guy, the chain actually cut his hand so badly it had to be bandaged up by the police.
Yeah, and the strange thing was that once they even got us off the highway, they didn't stop trying to force the arm tubes off people's arms and trying to twist their arms around, and they didn't stop the violence once we were on the highway.
So you're obviously very passionate about this subject. You know, can you just kind of sum up what people can do about this crazy agro-fuel business, which seems to be so popular amongst politicians?
Well, I think direct action is definitely a really important part because it raises so much more awareness about it, and it helps to create a big movement of people against agrifuels. I think that's what we need. We need a really big grassroots movement of people with a variety of tactics, all different sorts, not just direct action, also lobbying, campaigning, creative ways to, everybody gets drawn into learning about subjects through different means. So, but direct action, I think, is a really important part of that.
I'd say personally, I think we did the direct action to highlight what's going on. It's not everybody's cup of tea. This affects absolutely everybody, whether you're a driver or whether you get public transport, buses, they're going to be using this as well. I think it's important to learn about the issues and to do whatever you can, raise awareness, spread the word.
Thank you very much for that really informative information and the action you went on. If you want to find out more about Agrifuels, check out the websites and watch Vision on TV. We'll have more stuff on it in the future. Goodbye from the Climate Camp, and we'll see you tomorrow.